Let's begin by telling you that President Bola Tinubu has extended his heartfelt condolence to Governor Umo Eno of Akwa Ibom State on the shocking passing of his beloved wife, Pastor Patience Umo Eno. The State Commissioner for Information, Ini Ememobong, announced the First Lady's death in a press statement issued in the early hours of Friday. According to the Commissioner, the First Lady died at a hospital on September 26, 2024, surrounded by family members. In a statement by the Special Advisor to the President for Information and Strategy, Bayo Nonuga, on Friday on behalf of the federal government, President Tinubu commiserated with the Eno family, the government and the people of Akwa Ibom State during this grim time. And now to judicial matters. As part of the programs lined up to formally herald the 2024-2025 legal year of the Supreme Court, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Kudirat Kekereekun, will swear in 87 new senior advocates of Nigeria on Monday at the main courtroom of the court. A statement by the Director, Information and Public Relations, Festus Akonde, on Friday said that the CJN will deliver a State of the Judiciary address with a view to highlighting the performance of the Supreme Court in particular and the Nigerian judiciary in general in the 2023-2024 legal year. In the same vein, other leading stakeholders in the justice sector will present speeches bordering on the state of the justice sector of the country. Now, Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has granted bail to Isaac Bristol, identified by the police as the whistleblower behind Ibom Nigeria account on X. Justice Emeka Mbite granted Bristol 5 million naira bail with one surety in like sum. Justice Mbite gave the ruling in response to a motion on notice submitted by Deji Adeyanju, who led Bristol's team of lawyers. The motion on notice is a formal request to the court to take a specific action or make a particular decision. In this case, Adeyanju's team filed the motion and Justice Mbite delivered a ruling, which is a judicial decision made by a judge after considering the arguments and evidence presented. Mbite also ruled that the defendant must deposit his passport with the court. Now, the government of Plateau State has promised to prosecute anyone who is discovered to be involved in child trafficking in any of the state's 17 local government areas. Musa Ashoms, the State Commissioner for Information, who announced this in Jos, was speaking in response to a development involving 39 children from Plateau State who were trafficked to other areas of the nation but were located and returned to their home state last week. Ashoms revealed that a few cartel members engaged in the illegal activity had been taken into custody and were being investigated further. The commissioner stated that even though 39 of the children who were trafficked were brought back to the state, additional research found that 3 victims remained unaccounted for and were not connected to the traffickers. Away from judicial stories to election matters now. Political parties towards civil society organizations, religious bodies, electoral monitoring institutions, and media practitioners, as well as security agencies, have been urged to contribute their quota in ensuring credible elections at the October 9 local government elections in Plateau State. The call was made in Jos, the capital city, during a stakeholders engagement organized by the Plateau State Independent National Electoral Commission. According to PLASIC, training of both staff and ad hoc staff, transparency, online registration and mock elections are some of the measures deployed towards a free, fair and credible election next month. News Central's Chizoba Anyowe tells us more.
Voter verification system is a new software deployed to monitor activities during the forthcoming electoral exercise in the state. This replaces the use of beavers, as PLASIC said the commission could not access it. PLASIC gathered these stakeholders here from the nooks and crannies of the state for an engagement to ensure a credible outing at the October 9 local government polls in the state. These lovers of politics and good governance took advantage of the platform to get clarity on some grey areas regarding the forthcoming elections.
I am more worried about the kind of data that would be stocked in the VVS.
Our electors have complained seriously about some government functionaries that even if other parties win, they will take it by force.
Where all those processes fail, what happened with the voters in that polling unit?
Chairman of PLASEC assured that with the level of effort the Commission has put in place, considering uncertainties too, measures have been set rolling for a smooth and successful outing.
We are acutely aware of the historic context that has shaped perceptions of state independent electoral commissions in Nigeria. Many citizens have lost confidence due to the past irregularities. The essence of this meeting is to run down that within the period of 3 months, what we've been able to lay. And I assure you, Plateau people will be proud of PLASEC at the end of the day.
Governor Caleb Mutfwang assured his administration's support to PLASEC and his commitment to a more peaceful, credible, and democratic government.
The governor is enthusiastic about making this election a free and fair election, an election that will be commended by all Plateau citizens. Let's not take our diversity to divide us. Let us rather unite ourselves and go, because we will only be stronger as a united people.
PLASEC has screened 75 candidates and 788 others for the chairmanship and councillorship polls, respectively, from 11 political parties in 325 electoral wards of the 17 local government areas of Plateau State. In Jos for News Central, Chizoba Anyuwi.
Away from Plateau State, we take it to Niger State, where the State Emergency Management Agency says 11 persons have lost their lives in a flood incident in the state, with over 40,000 others displaced. In a statement on Thursday, Abdullahi Ara, Nsema Director General, said at least 271 houses and 171 hectares of land were destroyed by flood in 2 local government areas of the state. Ara noted that 6,865 households in 34 communities have been displaced and are currently in the internally displaced persons camp. The Nsema DG added that 246 school infrastructure have been washed away, creating accommodation problems for pupils, students, and their teachers. Women farmers in Nigeria have expressed worry over the delay in delivery of fertilizers to farmers in the country. They say this is affecting their farming and continues to aggravate food insecurity in the country. This was made known during a national dialogue on the 4th biennial report review on the Comprehensive Agriculture Results Framework of the African Union's Commission Africa Agriculture Development Program. News Central's Emmanuel Bagudu reports.
Stakeholders say on a scale of 0 to 10, Nigeria scored 3.4, which is adjudged not to be on track in the implementation of the Malabo Declaration on Agricultural Transformation in Africa. This event, an initiative of Action Aid Nigeria and Nigeria's Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, is expected to profile solutions to this shortcoming and find ways of making Nigeria a food-secured nation.
This is the report of the 4th biennial review that was signed off by the African Union governments earlier in the year. So we are having this dialogue to reflect as a country in terms of the progress we have made in terms of the agriculture sector, looking at the CADIP result framework and the gaps and what we need to do going forward in terms of looking at the recommendations coming from the report.
The women farmers present here provided a first-hand information on the causes of food insecurity in the country.
Let the fertilizer come in time, because agric is a seasonal something. We we start our planting. If rain come early, it will be like April, May. Then if you want a farmer to harvest or to get something, you have to plan for the farmer in time, at least by January, February, March. they have finished everything, then release the fund so that every agencies will carry the activities so that we farmers will benefit.
Is government really taking agric as seriously as they speak about it? Releases in agricultural sector, like budget releases, is very poor. We got fertilizer just a month ago when the planting season is over. So I don't know how farmers are able to use that to perform magic. And we're saying there is no food, there is inflation in the country and all of that. So government really needs to be serious. And not only government this time around, we're also calling on other partners to make sure that they take investment in agriculture seriously.
The biennial review presents a comprehensive Africa Agriculture Resolve Framework to the African Union Commission. In Abuja for News Central, I am Emmanuel Bagudu.
Many thanks for staying with us. The Nigeria Fair Finance Coalition has identified corruption as one of the issues stalling the nation's economic and infrastructural development. This was during a roundtable discussion on combating illicit financial flows in the nation's capital, Abuja, where the coalition called for prompt action against citizens complicit in the act. News Central's Joshua Imarai reports.
The roundtable engagement on curbing illicit financial flows is holding in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. The engagement saw the convergence of several public institutions and pro-transparency organizations under the Fair Finance Nigeria Coalition. Transparency experts at the gathering said the misappropriation of public finances and ill-gotten funds has held back Nigeria's economic development.
Poverty and inequality due to the ill use, misallocation and misappropriation of resources, illicit financial flows and tax evasions by multinational corporations present significant challenges to economic development and social equity in Nigeria.
Stakeholders at this gathering say the intention of the coalition is to support public institutions in tackling the menace of illicit financial flows.
Our objectives on this project is to increase awareness and understanding that leads to collaborating with banks, other financial institutions, and corporations on promoting fair finance in Nigeria.
The intention is to work with government agencies, strengthen their regulations, work with private sector companies, ensure that their policies are in match with international best practice, ensure that communities are also holding their companies, residents or practicing within their communities, accountable for their practices.
At the end of the event, stakeholders signed action plans for both regulators and financial institutions in curbing illicit financial flows in Nigeria. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imarai.
The Defense Headquarters says that hundreds of terrorists have been eliminated between July 2024 and September 2024. The Director of the Defense Media Operations, Major General Edward Buba, while giving a third quarter update to newsmen in Abuja, says that troops will continue offensive actions as part of efforts to restore peace and order back to troubled communities. He says that 1,937 terrorists were neutralized, 2,782 suspected terrorists were arrested, and 1,854 hostages were rescued from kidnappers.
Overall, the troops of Operation Safe Haven neutralized 122 violent extremists, arrested 513 suspects, and rescued 305 kidnapped hostages. The troops also recovered 48 AK-47 rifles, 41 fabricated guns, 52 assorted arms, and 9,457 rounds of 7.62 millimeter special ammunition, among others. Troops' offensive activities combined with the synergy between the security agencies as well as our intelligence agencies resulted in the neutralization of several terrorist leaders, commanders, and combatants.
Let's talk health. Nigeria's skyrocketing medicine costs have unleashed a wave of counterfeit products, with herbal supplements particularly vulnerable. NAFDAC urges stakeholders, especially in herbal and alternative medicine, to join forces against fake drugs. The Deputy Director of Investigation and Enforcement Directorate, NAFDAC, Afolabi Aderemi, made this call at the pre-launch press briefing of the Ever Hill Living Herbal product in Lagos. News Central's Adeshabo Dushoga reports.
The increasing rates of the prices of medicine in Nigeria as a result of inflation has birthed counterfeited products into the market, with herbal and alternative medicine and supplement bearing the larger brunt. As a result, the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control has continued to intensify the war on substandard and counterfeit products. Speaking at a recent press briefing for the launch of the new herbal alternative medicine by the Ever Hill Living Company, the representative of the DG of NAFDAC noted that it is important for stakeholders to partner with the agency to verify the authenticity of its product, urging the public to raise alarm about the sale of fake product.
No, the issue with herbal products, as far as NAFDAC is concerned, we know that we are indigenous people. We know even before the creation of NAFDAC, people have been using herbal products. And I can tell you that many of them work very well. But we have a lot of adulteration nowadays, and that is the challenge. And when the product is registered, what the NAFDAC check before registration is to make sure that it does not cause any harm to the user. And you can see when you check the label of herbal product, you see that when they claim that it does this, it does that, they will put a caveat that these claims have not been evaluated by NAFDAC.
In recent times, health and wellness have become more prominent with information dissemination across social media platforms. But this has also given room for misdiagnosis, sale of fake drugs, and self-medication. Industry players have reacted to these claims and how this can be tackled.
It's obvious we really do not have good health care in the country. That is why you see most of the politicians, the ones that are rich, once they are sick, they go abroad. So this is why we are investing here. One of our major goals is to make sure that we create a health system where affordable but with good results. You understand? So that you don't just think until when you go to abroad, that's where you get good and affordable treatment. So these are things we are putting in place, and we believe that with time we're going to solve that too.
Someone says, why do I need to pay so much for healthy products or health supplements? My answer usually is try disease. And I believe that none of us wants to be in that situation, because it is prevention, they say, is better than cure.
Herbal supplement forms an integral part of traditional medicine in Nigeria, many of which remain largely unregulated, especially due to the increasing cost of orthodox medicine. With partnerships like this, stakeholders call for increased regulation by relevant agencies to curb fake medicine and its attendant consequences. In Lagos for News Central, Adeshawa Odushoga.
The Olu of Warri, His Royal Majesty's Ogiame Atuwashe III, the Queen Consort of Warri Kingdom, Her Majesty Olori Atuwashe III, have both been honored with the 2024 Most Influential 100 Hall of Fame Award in New York, the United States of America. The United Nations-backed Hall of Fame Awards is in recognition of their social impact and in support of their initiative on the International Decade of People of African Descent. In a statement by the media aide to the royalties, Adeniyi Fetayo said the recognition also highlights Olu of Warri and Olori Atuwashe III's forward-thinking approach to governance, which reflects the spirit of progress for the global African community. It's worth noting that Most Influential People of Africa Descent was organized on the sideline of United Nations General Assembly to celebrate a decade of influential people of African descent in 2024. The news continues in West Africa, where a minister in Senegal's former government has been jailed on charges of extortion, embezzlement and money laundering during his previous role as head of the National Lottery. Lat Diop headed the National Lottery from 2020 and then served as sports minister from 2023 to 2024 under ex-president Macky Sall. He is the first former government minister to be detained under the new authorities who took office in April. President Diomaye Faye and his Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko have repeatedly said they will seek accountability from the previous administration. In Southern Africa, the remains of the South African struggle stalwarts who were exiled in Zambia and Zimbabwe by the apartheid regime have arrived at Waterkloof Air Force Base in Pretoria on Wednesday. The 42 are among thousands of anti-apartheid activists who were driven out of South Africa by the apartheid government. The reburial ceremonies are expected to take place in the next 3 months. News Central's Bongani Siziba tells us more.
So that you can rest in peace.
In the heart of Zimbabwe, beneath fading sun, families of South Africa stand united, digging deep into earth, not just to reclaim the remains of their loved ones, but to resurrect their memories, their legacy. For years, these brave souls have rested in foreign soil, away from the home they fought to liberate. These freedom fighters are heroes of liberation who bravely stood against oppression and now return to the promise of a dignified homecoming after decades apart. Their sacrifice is etched deep into the history of a nation. Back in South Africa, eagerly families await with hope, hearts pounding in anticipation. The South African government, in collaboration with the families, has embarked on a mission of love, duty and remembrance.
Today, South Africans gather here at the Waterkloof Air Base to honor and receive mortal remains of 42 heroes who made ultimate sacrifices for the liberation of South Africa.
Here with the invitation from the Department of Sports, Recreation and Culture for the welcoming of our brothers and sisters who died in exile. Their remains are coming today.
He died here in Zambia. I can't remember what age he was when he died, when he passed away. So I can just say that I'm happy that at last, after all the waiting that we had, that my brother's remains is coming back so that we can have closure.
As dusk turns to night, the skies above South Africa herald the arrival of those once lost to time. This moment, long awaited, has finally arrived. The spirit of the heroes who fought for freedom are moments away from being reunited with the land they cherished, the families that mourned them, and the nation that felt their absence. With every note sung, their memory becomes a beacon of honor, their courage and sacrifice immortalized in song. As the doors open, honor guard members carefully carry the coffins draped in South African flag, marching solemnly past through the families, carried with dignity they so rightfully deserve. These brave men and women now journey home. Each step is a marching honor, a testament to their sacrifice, and an embodiment of gratitude from the generations of South Africa.
It's again to just express that gratitude, appreciation to the family, but also for us as a people to remember where we come from. Say it didn't come easy. There are people who died for us to be here.
It's a turning point and a victory to the wounded souls of all families who have been asking us questions. Chief, you're in exile, you're with my brother, you left with my sister, you left with whoever, and where are they? It was so difficult to explain that We have lost your mother, we have lost your brother.
The transfer of these remains is not just an act of remembrance, it is a binding promise to uphold the ideals of cross-border solidarity. It is the past with rich that is shared with victories and honor for these heroes and fallen soldiers, but it is also a symbol of a collective journey towards the freedom and dignity. Together, South Africa, Zimbabwe and Zambia have shown that united in strength.
Let's now tell you that campaigning began in Mozambique 6 weeks before the Southern African nation goes to the polls in a general election. Voters will cast ballots for president, parliament and regional authorities in the October 9 poll, in which current 69-year-old President Filipe Nyusi cannot stand for another term. Its ruling Frelimo party has won every national election in the country since the end of a brutal civil war it fought with Renamo, the main opposition, and the former rebel group. Meanwhile, presidential candidate and leader of the Mozambique Democratic Movement Party, Lutero Simango, campaigned in the capital, Maputo, ahead of the election.
Aqui o dia 9 de outubro, vote Lutero Simango e no MDM. Me vota também no Simango, e também lá no MDM. O nosso país, a agrícola precisa de novo governo. Lilava a fumo Yuan, precisa de novo presidente da República e novo partido a governar Moçambique. Libanga Luan, Santa Fumo Moçambique. E quem pode fazer as mudanças? Já foi a coisa para o Chincha. Este homem está aqui convosco. Nós queremos combater o crime organizado. Queremos combater os raptos, sequestros e o branqueamento de dinheiro.
A paramilitary attack on a market in the Sudanese city of El Fasher killed 18 people after world leaders appealed for an end to the country's wartime suffering. The Rapid Support Forces shelling of the market also injured dozens, activists said separately, as the paramilitaries and regular army vie for control of the North Darfur state capital 17 months into their war in the northeast African country. The plight of Sudan, El Fasher in particular, has been under discussion this week at the United Nations General Assembly in New York. The paramilitaries have besieged El Fasher since May, and famine has already been declared in Zamzam, a refugee camp near the city of 2 million inhabitants. Away from the east to the north, people demonstrated in front of the Tunisian parliament as lawmakers debate a bill that would strip a top court from its power to rule on election-related disputes, a move decried by protesters as anti-democratic just days before a presidential ballot. The proposed judicial shift comes after Tunisia's administrative court in August had overturned decisions barring 3 presidential hopefuls from running in the October 6 election, a ruling later ignored by the country's electoral body, ISIE.
يعني تنطلق الفترة الانتخابية والتنافس الانتخابي، يجي الحكم ويبدل قوانين اللعبة في الأمتار الأخيرة. هذا جريمة سياسية مكتملة الأركان، وهذا يؤكد من جديد التنكيل والتعسف وضرب مقومات النظام الجمهوري من قبل.
Bringing you updates from UNGA 79, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressed the United Nations, emphasizing that Hamas must be removed from power. He stressed that if Hamas remains, it will continue to attack Israel as it has vowed to do so. Netanyahu's statement comes amid escalating tensions between Israel and Hamas, which controls the Gaza Strip.
An attack is And the reason is simple. Because if Hamas stays in power, it will regroup, rearm, and attack Israel again and again and again, as it is vowed to do. So Hamas has got to go.
In the meantime, Israeli Prime Minister also stated that operations against Hezbollah will continue despite proposals for a 21-day truce. Netanyahu emphasized Israel's right to remove the threat and ensure citizens' safety, vowing to persist until objectives are met.
Just this week, the IDF destroyed large percentages of Hezbollah's rockets, which it built with Iran's funding for 3 decades. We took out senior military commanders who not only shed Israeli blood, but American and French blood as well. And then we took out their replacements, and then the replacements of their replacements. And we'll continue degrading Hezbollah until all our objectives are met.
Straight to business now, as the world moves closer to achieving the ambitious targets outlined by the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals for 2030, the perspectives of young people have become increasingly important. PwC's report explored the views and expectations of South African youth concerning the SDGs, highlighting their demand for greater action from private businesses. Christy Viljoen, senior economist and senior manager at PwC South Africa, shared his insights on how to effectively integrate the SDGs during a discussion on Business Edge.
He told us that community organizations and other non-governmental organizations are the ones that they see as having the most impact on the Sustainable Development Goals. And that's quite understandable, because where many of these young people live, the real support that they're getting from outside of their communities coming in would be these kinds of NGOs, community organizations, so they can see how these people are making an impact on their lives, whether it is water quality, education, health, wherever that connection might be. At the other end of the spectrum, they probably see less activity by the private sector, because private sector is often seen as big buildings, big offices in the middle of the city, and not everywhere where young people are. Your question about where can these two maybe connect with each other? Now, that's a nexus that our government supports, and it's something that a lot of big businesses are working towards. Big business wanting to make a difference in rural areas, impoverished areas, areas that need support when it comes to these key SDG elements. And the most important step is to work on that with help and support and networks of community organizations. These entities know the people. They know the area, they know the geography. They can look beyond the data and understand where the real challenges and problems are. So I think that if we want to improve this overall situation, we need to make sure that the community organizations and NGOs work much closer with private sector, and then also government. Government has a role to play in this in local and national government as well. It's in South Africa, we often talk about the social partners. That would be government, private sector, labor, community organizations. It requires all of them to work together towards these goals. It's not a government job. It's not a private sector job. It's not a community job. Everything needs to work together. Otherwise, we're not going to make progress on many of these goals.
On Wednesday, the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, the largest stock exchange in Africa, reached a new milestone by surpassing the 86,000 points mark for the first time, before closing slightly lower at 85,960, reflecting a 1.4% increase. This surge was fueled by positive trading across all sectors, with the resources index leading the charge and the all-share index rising over 1.5, hitting an intraday high of 86,197. On Business Edge, portfolio manager Viv Govenda shared his insights on the factors behind this increase.
I think a big factor you must consider is that we are seeing stimulus from China really helping us. We passed 87,000 at the moment as I speak to you. So it's a lot of it is coming through from the uptick in stocks related to China, so NASPERS, some of the resources, etc. NASPERS, for those that don't know, is a South African company, biggest in exchange. And it about 20 years ago, still 20 years ago, it bought a stake in a company called Tencent in China, and it's gone up massively since that time, 4,000 times the initial investment, accounting for the majority of the company's valuation. And that is, obviously risen up as Chinese stocks have risen on the stimulus measures.
And on Thursday, the cryptocurrency market saw the underwhelming debut of a new tap game coin, adding to the growing list of cryptocurrencies that coin traders refer to as dust. With an initial listing price that barely made an impact, followed by a continuous decline, investors and enthusiasts are left wondering, is this coin destined to repeat the misfortunes of its unsuccessful predecessors? On Business Edge, Solomon Amunde, co-founder Sasomis, shared his insights on why this recently launched coin had such a low starting price and the factors affecting the pricing of tap game coins.
It's majorly because of the tokenomics, and these projects have a very, very huge supply, which is why you tend to see their prices in cents. But when you talk about the rewards that people get, why it's dust, like it was called for the most recent one, it's majorly based on the distribution. They had lots of users that were participating in the project. I mean, they had to distribute tokens to over 100 million users. And you can imagine giving rewards and incentives to over 100 million people. It's very difficult for anyone to get anything reasonable. Anyone that got up to $10 should be happy. Basically, it has to do with demand and supply. For most of the tap games, it's whenever it launches, what causes the price to start going down is based on sell pressure. So you have a system which most persons got incentives running into hundreds of millions of dollars, and they are trying to sell this to get real money. And automatically what that means is that there will be more sell pressure than there is buy pressure. So you tend to see the projects crashing in price. Then afterwards, you tend to start seeing them increase in price and gradually improve over time. Now, this is when they've been able to find a base price, and you now have people speculating on futuristic price, and you have traders now getting in. So in the first phase, you have people that got the airdrop selling to get profits. Then in the second phase, you have the real traders coming in trying to trade that asset and speculate future price.
In sports, Egypt's two biggest football clubs, Al Ahly and Zamalek, will go head-to-head tonight in the 2024 CAF Super Cup tonight in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Al Ahly, the reigning CAF Champions League winners, have firmly established themselves as a dominant force in African club football. Under the guidance of coach Marcel Koller, the Red Devils secured their fourth consecutive CAF Champions League title earlier this year, adding to the already impressive haul of 44 Egyptian League championships. Zamalek, known as the White Knights, finished third in the Egyptian Premier League last season, but managed to capture the CAF Confederation Cup. In their previous African encounters, Al Ahly have largely had the upper hand, winning 6 out of 10 matches, with Zamalek securing just one victory. The match has just kicked off. Let's also tell you that Gabon has joined Algeria in pulling out of the qualifiers for the 2025 African Nations Championship. 2019 champions Algeria withdrew from the competition on September 22, with the country's football federation choosing to concentrate more on youth development. The Gabon Football Federation on Friday announced their withdrawal from the championship due to the absence of a competitive football league in the country for almost 2 years. The Confederation of African Football has confirmed that Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania as co-host nations of the 2025 African Nations Championship. The first round of qualifiers on the weekend of 2025 of 25 to 27 of October 2024 will be observed. China's 595th ranked Zhang Shuai, who earlier this week won her first match in more than 600 days, stunned U.S. Open semi-finalist Emma Navarro 6-4, 6-2 in Beijing on Friday. The 35-year-old Zhang reached round 3 of the China Open, where she is the lowest-ranked player to ever compete in the main draw of the WTA 1000 tournament. On Wednesday, Zhang won her first singles match since January 2023 to snap a painful streak of 24 defeats on the WTA Tour. Coming into the prestigious event as a wild card, the former top 25 player defeated the 65th-ranked American McCartney Kessler in straight sets. Zhang, a two-time Grand Slam quarterfinalist who has been plagued by injuries, repeated the feat with a surprise victory over the American 6th seed, Navarro. And that's all at this hour, but before we go, we look at our top stories again. President Tinubu has commiserated with Akwa Ibom governor over passing of wife. Residents have protested in Tunisia as lawmakers move election reform. We also told you that 18 have died in Sudan after a paramilitary attack on markets. Do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV, and you can watch us live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Evo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Lekan Onabanjo.